We are now live, and it is impromptu. I am Tony Sawyer, and this is my co-host Norman Armstrong.
Hey there, everybody.
Down there having some fun at Myrtle Beach, and
Myrtle
here
Beach.
I am stuck at home.
Well,
But it's
let me beam you over here.
well, I tell you, I'm going to be careful about what I say about facts and stuff too, because your mom got right on that thing right
Yes,
quick.
she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Yeah. So you've been traveling today, or did you travel last night?
Oh, we traveled this morning. We're only an hour, about an hour and 20 minutes away from Myrtle Beach, so it was a quick drive.
Okay. Looks like it's really pretty weather too.
It is. It's gorgeous here. As you can see, I had to turn my camera kind of because I'm right over the pool where everybody's in the pool and so
Yeah,
forth. So yeah, it's real nice, real nice.
that's good. That's good. You gonna swim while you're down there?
I don't think so.
You do swim, right?
I am. I'm a certified lifeguard. I am.
Oh, that's right. You are. I remember that. I remember that. Well,
Yeah.
what you got on your heart today? Anything special?
Well, something that we came in contact with here in our area. Uh, been really pondering on the increase of violence, especially gun violence.
Okay.
Um, this past weekend, we've had several shootings in North Charleston, and we have a great concern that, of course, Gwen and I we was coming in from going down to Georgia to celebrate our grandson. He graduated from high school on last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Upon us coming back on Sunday, that's when we got the news of what happened on Saturday. One of the major shootings was in North Charleston. They were having a youth party, from what they shared with us. And what happened was it was a party that wasn't actually, um, they didn't give the rights for them to go ahead and do it. And so it was a lot of kids there. I believe the age was 20 and under. And
Mm-hmm.
someone just came and started shooting, and 14 individuals got injured, and a 14-year-old got killed.
Oh wow.
So that is something that has been on my heart. I've already been getting calls concerning that. And so everyone, one particular call came through was asking why is all of this happening?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on? And then, of course, on yesterday, we see on the news concerning the shooting in San Jose, California, where 8 individuals were shot by their employee, a guy that they worked with, and then he turned the gun on himself and killed himself as well, or as for what we have heard.
It
But
seems
that's
to
what's
be, yeah, yeah, and it seems to be a lot of that happening right now. I'm not sure what is the cause of it, except I do know that everybody's kind of, it's like they've all come out now. It's like they're let out of prison, so to speak.
exactly.
And good afternoon, Tony. And so by them being cooped up so long, I think everybody's just kind of all, I don't know how to term it, but it's like everybody's just, I'm free now. I can just, and it's like there's no governors any longer. And
Exactly. And
yeah.
so that's pretty much, like I said, some have been calling me and contacting me, and of course, they have been talked about probably some leaders coming together, seeing what we could do about it. And so, but again, we know these things are going to happen, so
Right.
it should
Right.
never catch us by surprise. And so, there's been a lot of talk concerning that. Of course, like I said, Gwen and I have been traveling, and again, today is her birthday. And so once we get back and settle down, we will be having discussions with some individuals concerning.
What do you think that you guys could do if the leaders do come together regarding that? And I know there's a coalition in Greensboro and probably in a lot of places right now, but I know of one particularly in Greensboro because of the violence that's stepped up. And how would you deal with that? What would you do as a leader? How would you address that?
Well, there's something that I've been talking about actually wanting to do before the pandemic actually happened. It was something that was on my heart concerning bridging the gap between the generations. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, there are different characteristics, and one of the major focus has been on the millennials. It was everyone was being considered, in that category of millennials, and then of course you have the baby boomers, and now you have the generation Z or Xers,
Mm-hmm. The
and
millennials. Yeah.
there's a gap, especially a cultural gap
Yeah.
between generations. And so one of the things that caught my attention, especially in church circles, is the talk of old school and new school.
Mm-hmm.
And we've heard that before, and that is a description pretty much that the younger generation came up with because how they perceive and see things differently
Yeah.
than those before them.
Yeah.
And so my concern has been there's a big gap
Very
between,
big gap.
yeah,
Very
a
big gap.
very big gap
Yes.
between the generations. And of course, me, um, I'm I'm a type of person. I don't really believe in the old school, new school philosophy. It's a cultural thing that's happening. and
Mm-hmm.
and so again, one of the things I wanted to come up with was a conference called the Merge, where we would bring the generations together and we would discuss certain issues concerning culture, concerning identity, concerning the difference between in the church, especially religion and relationship.
Yeah.
um, One of the things that the younger generation now is wanting, they're wanting leaders to be very transparent. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that, as I was sitting, even before you asked the question concerning, what was on my heart, one of the things that the younger generation have to understand, they have to understand that we as leaders, we can call all these different forums, we can have open discussion, we can have uh, everyone at a round table, and we can talk. But the problem is when you want to attack the leaders, you got to understand leaders are put in a position to lead the people, and we lead people through wisdom and experience.
True.
And
True.
that's what they don't quite understand. And so, of course, as we was coming up, we sat at the feet, like with you and Bishop and yourself, Mom. One of the things that I love was sitting at your feet. I was one that craved for wisdom. I craved for knowledge concerning different things. And so in those days, we received wisdom from you guys and we applied it to our lives. We have to understand now, if you want the leaders to do something, then you have to listen to the wisdom that they're sharing. And so a scripture that came to my heart was the statements that's mentioned quite often in the book of Proverbs, where Solomon makes the statement to those that he considers sons to sit down and listen and receive the instructions from your father.
Okay.
And
Now,
so,
I do know that, and my husband and I mentioned our great niece. We had a good conversation with her on last Saturday.
mhm,
She is 19 and hasn't been churched. My nephew, of course, he was church. He grew up in church, Russell. Uh, However, he didn't keep his kids in church, even though he did put moral values into them. uh, she began to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, actually, to the point where she had to go into the hospital for them to help her to work through it, and then put on some high-powered medication to try to, offset it. And it wasn't doing any good. Her mom, being a nurse, of course, discouraged her from taking the medication. So she had to find another way to deal with whatever it was inside of herself
mhm,
that was causing these panic attacks. And so what she did, and I give her, I commend her for being wise enough to and courageous enough to turn inward. And what she did,
mhm,
she started to just be alone. And we mentioned this on Sunday, of course, and on Tuesday night. But she started to just be alone with herself. And
Exactly.
started also practicing just being still. And in the process of that, she actually began to witness and observe what her mind was doing, how her mind worked, and she began to understand things about herself and the ego and all of the things that cause this suffering, the psychological suffering that brought the panic attacks on. And as she did that, she gained the knowledge of a lot of the things that we as adults have studied, and
Hmm.
and she's gotten it straight from the source, straight
Exactly.
from the source. But she made a comment that stuck with me. Not only did she get along, but she said as she began to do that, all of her peers and her friends that she was around, they started dropping off. And when they started to drop off, she didn't go into resentment or loneliness. She said, "This is my alone time."
Exactly.
And so she began to know herself and was comfortable with herself. You know, and I said this before, that the reason they put prisoners in solitary confinement is because it's punishment.
Hmm.
People are afraid to be alone with themselves because the thoughts that they have and the feelings that they have is like it's like they molest and torment. And
Exactly.
so, what we're seeing in the generations that are coming behind us, uh, in these younger groups of people, is they're tormented with their thoughts and their feelings, and they're acting out.
Exactly.
They're
Exactly.
acting out.
And that's what we discussed this before. There was a shift, and I believe certain things are happening to bring us along with the universe in
Mhm,
alignment. All right.
mhm,
And the key
mhm.
thing that you said was concerning the young lady. She said still she isolated herself. Well,
Mhm.
again, in the midst of the pandemic, and I shared this one last night. If we understood and was able to discern what was actually happening around the world, we all was faced with the same exact thing,
Yeah.
a virus that kind of caused all of us to isolate ourselves, to
Mhm.
go stay home and stay safe.
Yeah.
But we could
Yeah.
have took advantage of that time, like the young lady did, to be still enough to find oneself. Because one of the things we have to get clarity on is get clarity on who we are.
Yes.
So we,
Yes.
many of the young people, they felt the need that they still yet had to go out and they had to do this, and the more that the mandate was telling, no, be social distance, please wear your
Yeah.
mask and so forth. And
Yeah.
you hit the nail right on the head. A lot of people are afraid or they're uncomfortable of being to themselves, which is
Yes.
a fear.
Yes.
And you see what I'm saying? And again, we used fear in the acronym false evidence appearing real. And so now
Mhm.
we have to ask
Mhm.
the question, why are you so afraid of being alone?
Mhm.
Because
And yeah, and
in
again, it's because
I
yeah,
got clarity of who I am.
yes, and again, it is because when I am alone, there's no one there to hear or listen to but myself.
Exactly.
And we tend to deaden and numb ourselves so that we don't feel that psychological suffering, the pain. We
Mhm.
do that because we don't want to feel the pain, and it keeps us from facing the shadow side of ourselves. And when we don't face the shadow side of ourselves, it doesn't go away. It simply gets bigger and begins to take over our lives. And before you know it, things are happening in our lives that we don't want to happen. And
Exactly.
so, yeah, yeah. And I call that miscreations because the
Mhm.
mind itself, it co-creates with God, but it is a miscreator.
Yes, yes. And therefore comes the false identity again. And
Mhm.
so I believe, you know, this was a time, if we was able to really be very intuitive and enjoy. That's what I did. I had to shift the way I was thinking about it. Of course, initially it was like, what, a
Yeah.
pandemic, what's about to happen? Of
Hmm.
course, we're human, we have emotions. That's been conditioned, and so the natural reaction was a natural reaction. Okay, what we going to do?
Yeah.
But the more I sat still, and I'm totally agree with the young lady, it became an enjoyable time for me. And so I even say to myself, even after this is over and done with, and we can have some sense of normality, I believe that people, when they see this Norman, all right, I would be a better leader because I was able to get clarity on myself. I was able to
Yes.
free myself from the addictions of people trying to fit in and or fulfill their viewpoint or perception of what I'm supposed to be doing or
Yeah.
whatever. And
Yeah.
so now I can speak to them from a point of transparency, what
Hmm.
I experienced and how I was able to be enlightened. And my life now is more aligned than it was before.
Yeah.
And
And
so I was able
yeah.
to do three things. I was able to bring clarity to who I am. I was
Mhm.
able to, once I got clarity of who I am, I was able to now prioritize my life.
Mhm.
You see, because we all wear several hats, all
Mhm.
of us.
Yeah.
I was able to highlight what was more important to me.
Yes.
And then thirdly, I was able to get rid of all of the noise and distraction.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so
And
now I got peace.
for some people, peace didn't come, boredom came, and
Exactly.
and restlessness came. Uh, and that's because we have spent a lot of our time, like I said, numbing ourselves with recreation, numbing ourselves with uh, different vices, whether it be drugs, drinking, smoking, sex. I mean, not that I'm not saying anybody has to leave that alone. I'm just saying that's how we've used those things to numb ourselves. And
Exactly.
but when you're numbing yourselves, you're not really alive. So what I found out, what happened during the pandemic, the reason people really got so upset about being shut down wasn't really because their liberties were taken away from them. It was because they could no longer have recreation.
Exactly.
So now they had to face their own stuff and they
Mhm.
couldn't do it. And it was really kicking up dust. And that's why, like you said, domestic violence, all kinds of violence spewed up because of the pandemic, because of the
Exactly.
shutdown, I should say, the shutdown.
Yep. And so what the scripture that comes to mind to me is Proverbs 29, verse 18, where it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. But
Hmm.
he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Another translation that is very familiar, those without revelation cast off restraints and they run wild.
Okay.
And so that's what we see was happening. Like you said, they became very bored because they didn't realize that their addiction was recreation and entertainment. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
again, they were numbing themselves. See, we always think that when we talk about addictions, it got to be alcohol or drugs, or you even mentioned sex. But
Yeah.
there are other addictions that we don't recognize.
Food.
Food is an addiction. You see what
Food. And
I'm
I have
saying?
to admit, I am an addict.
But a good example. You talk about boredom. Okay, again, I'm a health nut, a fitness guy. In the midst of the pandemic, when, like I said, initially I was taken out of my norm. Again, we were shut down. We couldn't open up the doors of the church. I'm a very sociable person. I am a public speaker, let alone a preacher, whatever. I
Yeah.
love to talk. That's my gift. All right. I have the gift of gab. So
Okay.
now when I allow boredom to set in, what did I start doing? I start grabbing that potato chip bag and just didn't need it and wasn't actually hungry. It was
Exactly.
to bring
Exactly.
some type of comfort or to bring me out of that boredom. And it
Yeah.
became an addiction. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I had to catch myself, one day, why am I constantly eating these bags of potato chip like this? And I mean, literally,
It's like you're in a trance.
exactly. And so I was in that moment, I was able to separate my true identity from my false identity and say, I really don't need that. So
Yeah.
now I have to look at something more productive in the midst of and I made that decision to go on a journey to discover me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what my niece, my great niece, did. When she did finally get to the place where she could be alone with herself, she discovered that now she's a beautiful young lady, makeup or no makeup, she's gorgeous. But she had gotten to the place where she was wearing a ton of makeup, and it was because she was trying to fulfill some image, some concept that she had of herself or that she wanted to be. And
Mhm.
so she realized during that time of being alone with herself that that was a false image. And so
Exactly.
now nobody said it to her, and and I'm not saying that she shouldn't wear makeup, but she's completely taken off of her makeup and going natural. And it's not because she's saying it's wrong to wear makeup, but it's she knew that she was living out an image that was not true to herself.
Right. Trying to
Yeah.
fulfill expectations and norms of
Mm-hmm.
our society
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
forth. I mean, it's an old thing, dealing like with magazines. With females, you'll look at
Very
magazines and
much.
you'll
Yeah.
see quote unquote the perfect shaped woman. Men looking at the
And
men's
look,
looking
and
at
not realizing that most of those photos have been photoshopped.
exactly. Uh, they may have a nice shape, but they may have blemishes that the makeup covered and so forth.
Yeah,
And so
or their waist might not be quite as small as they made it look.
exactly. And so now because of that, we all go on this journey to try to achieve or to obtain something that's really unattainable.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
what can I really accomplish? What can I really uh, achieve? And the number
Yes.
one
Yes.
achievement that I
Yes.
realized is to discover again me.
Yes.
And
Now we have a comment that came from, hey, Sister Chris. She said many were following the vision of the tribe and suddenly realized they had no vision of their own.
exactly, very well said,
Hmm.
very well said. And so that's what, and I'm glad that she said that because that was one of the things that I had to do myself. I sat down and I said, okay, this is a time to discover my own vision, separate apart what everyone else think. Again, because I found myself trapped. I didn't know I was trapped. I didn't know I was in prison until
Right.
the pandemic
Right.
happened. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And now I'm experiencing more freedom than I did prior. And it's because there's a saying, I become more comfortable in my own skin.
Well, have you opened up the church yet?
No, we're looking to open up the middle of next month. But even that, and I want to even say that on this, even when we do that, because again, I had the pressure from so many, and it was coming from the young people because
Hmm.
they like I shared with the young lady that called me asking me concerning all the violence, and it was like, is the Lord saying anything to you about what's going on? I said, well, actually, he's not saying anything to me, but we should have known this because of what we've studied, what we have preached, whatever. They're wondering if this is the end time and so forth. But the
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to
Yeah.
help her to understand was this: one of the things that this younger generation, and it's even mentioned in the book of Judges over and over again, about a generation that grew up that did not know God. Now they knew rituals, they knew ceremonies, and we all have been guilty of that. We know how to, especially in the African American church, we know
Oh
how to do
gosh.
church.
Mm.
We know how to do church. We know with the music, the keyboard or the organ hit that right note, everybody
Yeah.
jump up. We know
Yeah.
what to do and so forth and so on.
Mhm.
But the thing was, through all of that, were you able to discover what benefit did you really get out of that? And if we are properly assess it, we got a natural high, an emotional
Yeah.
high,
Well, now
but
you have to
to our
go back. We have to go back to our history as a race. Hey, Latanya. Hey, and Lady Gwen. As a race, we were under so much pressure. The black race, that is, back in the day, way back in the day, there was no other outlet for us but
exactly,
church.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other emotional happy release but church. And even in the very beginning, that was forced on us. And
Yes, it
as a
was.
race, that was forced on us. But because it was forced on us, we adapted, we took it, and that was our savior at that. That was our salvation.
Mm-hmm.
So the mindset of a lot of the young people is it those who've been, I want to go back because what's happening now in our, it's a global mind shift happening.
Exactly.
The world is smaller, information is more readily available. You can tell me something, but I got smarts enough now, I can go online and I can find more than what you said to me and know more than you do when you said it to me. So but there's a merger that's taken place. A lot of the belief systems and religious beliefs and all of that has merged into the West. The East and the West are now merging. And
Exactly.
so the and at the same time that's happening, the institution of religion has lost ground. So a lot of young people don't want the building, but they want the release.
Mm-hmm.
They want the release. And so a lot of them even now are seeking more of a spiritual understanding, but they don't necessarily want to be under a religion that's based in fear and guilt,
Mm-hmm.
because they feel
Exactly.
like they've been deprived of so many things that they could have done. And
Exactly.
I use my sister as an example. When we were, well, she was about 16, I think it was. We were in this particular church, and there was a very strict atmosphere. No short dresses, no dancing,
I remember that.
all the stuff.
I remember
And
that.
so she wanted to be a cheerleader.
Mm,
That's dancing and short dresses. And she couldn't do it. And so she felt deprived of that. And all her life, she really wanted to do that and
mm,
to dance. And so it was, they weren't allowed that freedom.
exactly.
So now it's all no holds barred. Everything's okay. Everything's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And so a lot of young people don't want to go back under that fear and guilt based religion.
Exactly. Exactly. And I agree with that 100%. Again, because like I said, we've been down that road. We've been through that journey. And so now to bridge that gap, and see, that's what I share with them. I always kind of try to put myself in the class with Joshua and Caleb. Again, they was the two that was left, according to the scripture, to lead the younger generation into the promised land. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
I always make fun of myself because, again, of my my characteristics does not fit the perception of what a 50, I'll be 54 this year, 50-year-old man is supposed to look like,
Oh,
or do
oh,
I
don't
don't
say
fit that.
nothing. Look, don't say anything. Pastor and I talked about it yesterday. We said,
Wow.
I can't believe we're 73. I'll be
And
73
y'all don't even
in a
look
few
like it
minutes.
don't even fit
And
that mold.
so, but it makes you, you got more life behind you than you got in front of you. And
Mhm.
it makes you look at life totally different. And we said this, we had to admit this to ourselves. We haven't accepted this yet. There are things that we need to actually put in place that we just have not done because we have not accepted this yet. And we are realizing, beginning to realize, we've got to get on the ball and do some things to make sure that some things are in order. But it's my insides don't feel 73.
Exactly.
My
Exactly.
It's like I'm I'm 16.
Mhm.
It's,
That's funny because that's what Gwen said. She turned 61 today, and so she flipped it and said she's 16. So
I feel her. I feel it. And but and it's so disconcerting and frustrating when your body doesn't follow suit. And I look in the mirror and I said, who is that? That's not me. Who is that? But
exactly.
but at the same time, I said this yesterday. I said, I appreciate my body. It has
Mhm.
carried me all this way for 73 years, and I haven't been kind to it all the time. So I appreciate my body and I
Exactly.
love my body. So that that's how you have to look at life. and I realized I began to understand my mother-in-law. Oh gosh, did I understand my mother-in-law? She was so independent, so feisty, so stubborn, and all of this. And I realize now why she got like that was because as she aged and her body was no longer able to move the way she used to move, she felt her world constricting and contracting. And it was very disturbing to her.
Mm-hmm.
Very disturbing to her. Things that she used to enjoy doing, she could no longer do. So her world became very, 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 very small, even to the point where her whole life, for the most part, was spent in her house day after day after day.
Exactly.
So at the end of your life, or as life comes to the point of exit, there is this contraction that takes place. So if you haven't gotten comfortable with yourself, you're going to have a hard time,
Exactly.
a
Exactly.
really hard time.
And
And
so
it comes faster than you know. 73 is just 73 Christmases.
that's it. He
We've
said,
seen 73 Christmases. Now,
wow.
I don't know how many more we have that we're going to see, but it's
Uh-huh.
not likely we're going to have 73 more.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
So it's safe to say, and I shared this on last night, as we go through life, we have to be able to discern and interpret the seasons of our lives
yes.
and make the necessary adjustments that we will be in alignment. See, a lot of people are not enjoying their life because they have not understood the seasons of their
Mhm,
lives.
mhm,
And so I
mhm.
gave the example, in spring is characterized as, a new beginning. Everything is new. The flowers are blooming, the trees and everything, it's a new enjoyable time. And then,
Yeah.
but in spring, I can't do in spring what I do in the winter. You see what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
winter
You
is,
could, but it wouldn't be too pleasant.
it won't. And see, that's the point. I'm glad you said it. That's the point. A lot of them don't understand that the reason why certain seasons in their lives have been unpleasant and not enjoyable because they didn't shift. They didn't make the necessary adjustment or adapt to it. How do I adapt to? I'm in the spring, but now, okay, I done passed summer and fall. Now I'm entering the winter. How do I make that adjustment? Well, for me to be comfortable in the winter, it's cold. I got to wear coat. I can't walk around with shorts and a t-shirt and so forth and so on. So I have to make necessary adjustments. Well, it's the same thing, and I'm about to do a teaching on that. When you understand that the seasons of your life, you have to be able to adapt and adjust so it can become more enjoyable, where you
Yeah,
can
and yeah,
really enjoy life.
and it actually starts with acceptance. And so
Exactly.
that, like I said, we sat there and we realized we just really had not accepted the fact that we're
Mm,
73 and that these bodies are 73, and that the preparation for exit is necessary. So
mhm.
and the seasons you mentioned is like, for instance, I saw a video yesterday, I think it was, of the court where they talk about marital courts and all of that stuff. This young man had gotten this young lady pregnant, and she was wondering if she should marry him. He was saying that he needed certain things that required other young ladies, and here she is wondering if she ought to marry this dude. And I'm thinking, okay, here you are, you're in a season where you got a baby coming. You've got to be more responsible and realize what you can accept and what you can't accept, what you are going to allow this, how you're going to allow this person to treat you. And she hadn't come to that yet. She was still allowing him to do the things he does and asking herself, why is he? I don't understand why he's doing this. And realizing that he was not marital material.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's the thing. That's why I say to young ladies when they want to know, and young men, is this the person that I'm supposed to marry?
Mhm.
Don't ask God to show you in a vision or a dream, because, hey, that's not going to get it. You need to find out. God, show me everything about this person,
Mhm.
good and bad. Show me. When you say show me, I don't mean in a vision or a dream. But as I interact with this person, I begin to see how they respond and react to life and different things happening. I will know then if I can live with that.
Exactly.
Because it's not going to get better when you marry, it gets worse.
Exactly.
So that's what people don't understand. God is not there to give you like a Ouija board. It's not. That's not how God works.
Nope. And
Here comes my
again,
honey bun.
I see him. I see him.
Let me
That
scoot over so we can squeeze
the
in
young
here.
man, the young man that showed up.
There, you in here?
Yeah.
There you go.
But you know the amazing thing about that is this. If we have to pray and ask the Lord for set to give us answers to questions like that, then there's no need for our our mental state. That means we can't think for ourselves. So
Yes.
we're now like no different than a puppet or a robot. All right, and so it's simple. Just using paraphrase and using the scripture. The tree by the fruit it bear. So like that young lady, if she see what he is doing, okay, he's not ready and he has not come to that season where he's ready to become married material. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just to say, like we said to young men, he still yet want to sow his royal oats, as we were said back in those days. So I had situations like that where people would come to me and ask me, "What is the Lord saying? This is my spouse, or am I supposed to marry this one?" And I will always flip it on them. I said, "Why are you so much concerned about this particular person? Have you asked the Lord to reveal to you?"
Right.
You
Right.
used to focus on creating judgments concerning this person, but you need to look at yourself. And so now, what can you put up with and what can you handle? See, if you begin to look inwardly and examine and assess yourself, then you can make a decision on how you want to relate or deal with that individual.
Well, most of us, I think, not, I won't say most of us. I know there are some of us, and Latanya, I think, has a women's group, and she deals with these kind of issues all the time. And what I've noticed is that a lot of times we go into relationships incomplete and expecting that relationship to complete us.
Exactly.
And so that's the one thing, you have to be complete already when you go into the relationship, because that
Exactly.
other person, if you're going, and I think we discussed this on one of our previous live streams, where if that person meets a need for you, that is not love.
That's not love. No.
No, I need you, that is not love. And if you meet that person and they meet an emotional need, psychological need, physical need, whatever need it is, monetary need, whatever need it is, that is not love. And once that person enters into a relationship with you and they no longer fulfill that need, then the relationship is dissolved.
And now you
It's
see
on the
I
rocks.
fallen out of love.
Exactly. And it has never been love, because like as I've said before, love has no because behind it. When you say I love you, there is no because behind it. Love just is.
Just is
It just
unconditional, no
is. There's no
stipulations,
because.
nothing.
Yeah, because if there's a because, then that's a need that person is meeting.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the expectations that a lot of individuals, when they enter into relationship like that, that's the expectations that they put on that individual. And
Exactly.
good and well they don't they're not going to be able to meet your expectations
And
totally.
yes, and Latanya, I like what she said. She said you attract what you are, not what you want.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's funny because that's like the oftentimes that's what we end up doing. We end up going into relationship with a person that actually is a mirror expression of who we are.
That's exactly right. That's
Yep.
exactly right. They
Yep.
are a
So
mirror
now,
expression.
you judging that person, and you're now getting to the place where you're disliking that person, not realizing that you're actually disliking your own self.
You know, we started off this conversation talking about the shootings and the young people who are all of the different shootings that are taking place. Now, my sister just sent me a text that I want to read about my nephew, my great nephew, Darius, who has just turned 16 a couple of days ago. And this is what his Spanish teacher said. She said, "Hola, I've had Darius this spring for Spanish too, and I keep meaning to reach out to you to say thank you. Darius is such a great student, but he's also a great young man. This spring, he's helped his classmates and me to keep our spirits up during this hard time with his great sense of humor and encouraging words. Thank you for raising him to be such a great young man who inspires those around him to keep calm, to focus, but to always remember the funnier, lighter side of life." And that's from his Spanish teacher. And that came from putting into him some spiritual values, not
Exactly.
religious values, but spiritual values.
Spiritual values. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And that's what's happening. This been a conversation for some time. Where are the values? Where are the values of our
Yes,
society? And see,
yes.
that's what we need to understand. If by now, because see, again, it's going to be expected for the clergy and the ministers to come together and to do something about this or whatever. But you
Mhm.
got to understand, again, each person has a part in the big picture, the big scheme of things. And so we want to put it all on one group of people. Using, for example, your you said your great son, grandson,
My great nephew.
great nephew. Okay,
Hmm.
something that his teacher said that caught my attention was laughter. He
Hmm.
he was humorous. He
Humorful.
would
Yes.
cut up with them or whatever, and that's something else that is missing. You
Hmm.
don't see people enjoy one another. The family unit is falling apart. There's no laughter. There's no joy. And then when we come to quote unquote religious circles, again, there's judgments. There's
Hmm. Hmm.
expectations and no enjoying one another. And we know laughter is medicine unto a person's soul. And so we have to show people how to enjoy life. All right.
One of the things we did with Darius, and by the way, Darius is Shelley's son. You remember Shelley,
Okay,
little
now I
Shelley?
know Shelly. I remember Shelly.
Of course, she's not little anymore, but Darius is
Yeah, she was
Shelley's.
very little when I see.
And the other young lady, Tyena, was Russell's daughter, the one who spoke of. So we're seeing that in our family. Some families push education. Some families push careers and goal setting. We've always just tried to show each other how much we love each other and to
Yeah.
be there for one another. And in doing that, it's just kind of bled off on them.
hmm and just to highlight what you had just said, and that's something that and it's generational.
Mhm.
Some families, this is what you're going to do. This is what we have planned for you. And so again, they have not taught that child coming up in that particular culture how to be an individual. And so
Mhm.
now that child is frustrated, that child is unhappy, and they feel like they're in prison, that they have to fulfill the perception of what mom or that family has said. This is where you're going to be a doctor. You're going to school, you're going to be a doctor. And that may
Mhm.
not be what I really want to do.
Yeah, the drive, they push the drive. But we didn't sit down and teach anything,
Mhm.
but we just tried to be an example. But one strong suit I think we do have in our family is strong communication. uh
It's good.
Even my husband and I, we talk about things that really don't feel good to talk about. And so we've kind of kept that going. Even my sister and her kids, they've talked about things that weren't pleasant. They've dealt with some things like that. And that causes those kids to be communicators as well.
Exactly.
And so, I just want to encourage people to be to not be afraid to discuss the hard matters.
Exactly. Exactly. especially towards parents. Parents have to be approachable. Kids grow up thinking that they cannot come talk to their parents about any and everything. I've been blessed to have a mother that literally, and it shocked me, the things that I was able to approach my mom and talk about, especially her raising two males on her own. Um, it would shock a lot of people. I mean, I could literally talk to my mom about any and everything from a
You know
male
why?
perspective.
And do you know why? Because she had no judgment.
Exactly.
You can't be a good parent and have a lot of judgment, because your child will close down and will not talk to you. Your
Exactly.
spouse will close down and not talk to you if you have a lot of judgment, because they know what's coming.
hmm And
You're
so
not going to be pleased with what they're saying. So they zip it.
yep. And so she allowed me to discover. And see, that's the thing I like about you guys. It's through love that you allow individuals to go on a journey to discover who they are. You're
Yeah.
not trying to force them. You're not trying to put them in a box or whatever. You let them take their journeys, and that's what helped people to get to a place where they discover purpose, their passion, what they like to do. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm,
saying? Rather than
mm-hmm,
somebody
mm-hmm,
trying to force an
mm-hmm.
idea on them of what success is. And
Yeah.
see, that's one thing that I had to change my perception about also is what success looks like.
Okay.
I
Okay.
had to change my perception because I realized again, you're considered, as us being pastors, you're considered to be a successful pastor based off of the
The
accumulation of
number of people.
materialistic things and
Mm-hmm,
number
mm-hmm,
of people. And I freed myself from that because, again, that may not be my destiny. You see what I'm
right.
saying? And
Right.
so I need to stop trying to achieve and reach an unattainable goal that somebody else has presented to me what
Yes.
success is.
Yes.
Because if I keep doing that, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to continue to be frustrated because every time I don't reach or fulfill a perception or expectation of someone else, now I'm unhappy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You see what
Hey,
I'm
Eye
saying?
Candy, you gonna
No,
say anything
no,
today?
y'all
You
go
gonna
on.
say
No,
Y'all
anything?
no,
got
go
to
ahead.
watch
I'm
that
waiting for a
now.
praise. You go ahead.
This my eye candy.
Go ahead. Y'all doing good. I'm gonna listen to you.
Can I say something concerning you guys? Concerning
Yeah.
you guys. Y'all literally broke the mold. And I'm not saying this to praise you guys, but again, watching you guys freed me. All right. Literally, I watch you guys break the mold. One of the things that I enjoy about you guys when you're sharing the wisdom um, that you have obtained through your experiences and your encounters and so forth, at the same time, y'all know how to have fun with it. You see what I'm saying? So, people that have religious mindsets, they have that paradigm. They'll sit there and they'll literally fall apart and like, oh, this, okay, this is not good. This makes no, and it's enjoyable to me. You see, I'm able to relate, and that's what I'm trying to get so many other people to understand is you got if you're passionate about something, then you should be able to enjoy when you're sharing it, not to fit or to fulfill again an attainable goal of something that somebody presented to you. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And so again, that is one of the things that I enjoy about the way y'all share your experiences, your wisdom. You don't come like you preaching at us and with the hooping and the hollering. Y'all enjoy.
He hoops a little bit.
Yeah,
I,
well, yeah, but
I always tell him, I said, you about to pop.
yeah, but yeah, yeah. But see, that's just to me. That's in because I do it
That's
myself.
natural. Yeah,
You know,
that's
that's
natural.
just that passion coming
Yeah.
forth like that. But again, I've learned how to enjoy my life and my journey based off of watching you guys.
Well,
Y'all have been perfect
I'm
examples.
I want to do something. I'm still thinking, I'm still contemplating whether or not I'm going to keep going after this month, but because I hadn't quite made up my mind yet. But I would like to talk about the energy centers when we come back.
Chakras,
Yeah.
okay, not a
I would
problem. I'm
like to
familiar
talk
with them.
about the energy centers, how they affect us, how they work, all of this kind of stuff. Just kind of go into a little bit of 101. Uh, so I just want to touch on that. I just feel like I want to do that. So maybe next time we come together, we can talk about the energy centers. Because
Definitely.
one of the things my niece said when we talked to her on Saturday was that she's now working on her base chakra. Nobody's taught this kid this. Nobody's taught this. She's learning this on her own and without studying. That's the thing that just blows our minds. She's even the language. She's got the language and she hadn't studied anything. But
But
she
see,
said she's working on her base chakra and she's trying to be grounded. So she
exactly.
understands all of this stuff. And that's all I'm thinking, man. So really, when we come back again, because our time is winding up, but when we come back again, I would like to talk about the energy centers. You're gonna be there with us.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna talk about it too.
Mm-hmm.
I know it shocked some that's probably watching us when you mention energy centers, and then I mentioned chakras because a lot of people that's in that circle I kind of travel never heard me mention chakras, but I'm very familiar with it because of my background in the martial arts again.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
understanding
yeah.
the
Oh
pressure
yeah,
points,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
understanding the pressure points and all this different stuff and so forth. So
Mhm.
yes, it's a reality. Chakras are a reality.
Yeah. Well, and we need to talk about it because, like I said, the spirituality is gaining momentum in our nation. It is not all Christian based anymore. And so
Mhm.
there are even Christians now who know about the Kundalini and the chakra centers and all of it. So we need to talk about it. We need to talk
Yes,
about it. And
yes.
how it, we just need to talk about it. We
And
will.
they'll be surprised how to understand that the energy from your chakras or yourself is actually connected to the energy of the
Mhm,
earth and the
mhm,
universe and so forth. So
mhm,
because
mhm,
that's all we are. We're
mhm.
energy.
Mhm.
That's what we are.
And knowing that the certain energy centers can be blocked,
Yeah,
and when they're blocked, how it affects us, and when they're open, how it affects us. So that's something that we need to talk about, I think.
definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely. Yes.
Anybody that comes from God, which is all of us,
Hmm.
we carry the what is called it's not a stamp. We carry the it's not the male and female DNA. It's not that. It's another word I feel coming. I'm trying to hit it. We carry the imprint.
The blueprint or the
It's
imprint.
another big word I feel coming. It's real.
I do too.
It's a
I
big
can't
word.
place it. Yeah.
But every there's no one in this earth that does not have built into them marriage and union and oneness,
Mhm.
except for those who are like Paul said is a eunuch and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to mess with that too much because I don't think it's too many of them around.
We never met one.
I tell you,
I have to agree on that one.
met one. We may have met one, but he's so
Not
full of
too
hell that you couldn't tell the difference between eunuch or scrunic.
No, and there's a difference in being a eunuch by choice and then a eunuch because you're forced to.
So
Oh
like
my
somebody asked
Lord.
me, I say, "You don't ever have gas indigestion?" No, I ain't never had that. What's wrong with you? Um, my point is that if we were taught the truth of our identity, divorce and separation would be easily acceptable. See, I used to think that when a person marry this particular person or they come together, that there's not supposed to be any changes in that relationship. I had to enlarge my consciousness
Yeah, yeah.
because I went back to the contracts. I didn't see most churches and people in the Bible are preaching it from earthly
Mm-hmm.
standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
There is a supernatural, spiritual point of view about marriage and relationship. If your contracts that have been eldered, uh, mixed and molded into your sacred script, like Jesus was by script, His marriage was us.
Yeah.
Our marriage is him,
Mhm.
which means anything outside of that should not interfere with our infinite relationship with each other.
Even though I do kind of think that I don't think Jesus had an affair, but I think he and Mary Magdalene had some vibes going on.
For sure.
Anytime a woman washed your feet with her hair, yeah, there's some vibes going on.
Mm, 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 mm.
You know, it's funny that you say that because those are some things that I would love for us to really touch because I think one of the problems with the church world today, our presentation of God, our presentation of Jesus, our presentation of heaven has always been mystical. Like it's mystical. For example, Jesus when he rose, he was still yet tangible. You can touch him. You see what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
He had a what we call a glorified body. So
Yeah.
now Jesus didn't go to a mystical place when he left and ascended. He went to a physical place called heaven. All right.
Hmm.
If it's a mystical place, there will be no need to describe it as a street paved with gold and all this stuff like that. You know, I believe, and that's what I said. Some people, I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but I believe heaven is a different planet, a different place. I study all of these different things and so forth, but I think we are presented that he's all these things are like a mist. You see
Well,
what
yeah, we don't think he ever went to the bathroom for
I'm,
33
exactly,
years.
exactly. Yeah.
And
So
cannot imagine Jesus going to the bathroom
mhm.
in
They
33 years.
all the different things, a presentation of the supernatural, the presentation of angels, and all of these are actual beings. You see what I'm saying? And the church is we act like we're afraid to talk about it. They don't want to preach about the reality of who Noah was, Enoch, all these again, Enoch, again the Bible lets us know he was taken up immediately. He didn't see death. He was still a physical being. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
those are things that I think a lot of people are really interested in because, again, we've used the Bible to introduce religion, where actually the Bible is a history of actual events that occurred that we're reading somebody else's story.
Well, I'm going to touch this, and I know we don't have much time left, but I'm going to touch this because of what you just said. In actuality, there are so many different astral planes
Yes.
that have been created by our own God likeness, and the actual destination or home is not necessarily a place. It's beyond form. And so none of us have gotten home until we've gotten beyond form. So in actuality, heaven is another astral planet, place, plane, but it is not the destination. The destination is God itself, where you lose all form. I just throw that out there.
That's
And
good.
we'll talk
That's
about
good.
that some more later on. But
Yes.
it's been good today. Thank you, Eye Candy.
Mhm.
I
Thank
got
you,
to
Pastor
I'm gonna
Noah.
have to I'm gonna have to take my eye candy out for some crab legs.
Yeah, she's planning to go for crab legs. It's her birthday.
Today is her
And
birthday.
yeah, happy birthday, Lady Gwen.
Yeah.
Have fun for us. Think about me when you're eating those crab legs.
Yeah, Shannon's birthday was yesterday.
Well,
How long will it be before y'all go back home?
We'll be going back sometime tomorrow evening, late tomorrow evening, late. I'm going to enjoy myself here in Myrtle Beach.
yes, please do. Enjoy yourself, have fun, and stay safe. Thank you, Sister Chris. She said, as an adult, I learned to enjoy and accept the transparency of you both. And I've always tried to include that in my adult life. Thank you so much, Sister Chris. We love you too,
Oh
darling. We
wow,
love you too.
wow.
Lady Gwen, we can't come down right now, darling, but you think about why you're having fun. You're having fun for me, okay?
You guys keep your chin up, hold it down on both sides of the road, keep it in the middle, and keep working it.
All right.
Tanya said we should be able to walk on water in this form. We just don't think we can. There you go. That's
I
right,
agree.
honey bun.
That's it. I agree with that.
Missy. That's right, Missy. We should be able to walk on water. And we do in our everyday challenges. We walk on water, baby. We walk on water. You've been walking on water too.
Leave the door open. Bruno Mars said, leave the door open. But I'm coming home soon.
Bishop is funny.
Oh my God, he's been listening to Bruno Mars.
Have you heard him
stuck
sing
in
that?
his head.
Bishop is the new
It's
Bruno
stuck in
Mars.
his head.
You know about Bruno. You know about that
Of
song.
course, I know about Bruno Mars.
Yeah, who doesn't know Bruno Mars?
Now you got better hit them steps like he hit now.
Those days are long gone.
He was at the chiropractor's office and where were we at the restaurant? We went and got lunch, and he's in there trying to dance. He thought he was dancing like Bruno Mars, and I said, "Yes, in your mind, you think you're dancing like Bruno."
I can hit a few of his steps. I know I
Every
can.
time you say, "What you doing? Where you at?"
I got the door open, Tanya. I got the door open. I guarantee you that.
What you doing?
But that's
Where
one.
you at?
That's one song. When he gets in your head, it keeps going,
It
girl.
won't go away. That's the truth.
Ooh,
Tell me that you're coming soon.
that thing is crazy.
I love Bruno too. I do.
I've been listening to a lot of Al. What's his name? Al.
And Al Jarreau.
Al Jarreau.
We've been listening to Al Jarreau all
some
week.
of his old stuff. I'm
Oh
telling you too.
man,
I saw him sing about his friends.
my old friend. Missy, if you haven't heard that, you just look at that on YouTube.
My old
where
friend.
he sings about my old friend. Oh, it's
Now wait a minute. You said Missy. That is that Latanya?
That's her.
Latanya,
I never knew. I never knew.
always called her Missy. I don't know why, but I don't know how she got that name.
I never knew Missy's name was Latanya.
Yeah. Because I don't know either. But I always called her Missy.
Because then when I looked at the picture, I said, I know that person.
Yes,
It's been a long time, Missy.
When I was a little boy, her daddy used to come down to my house, and her mama used to come to my house, and I never thought that who I was seeing at Willard Black, that I would run into his daughter as a member of my church years later.
Yeah. Tell Missy she got to give me a call. I've been thinking about. I thought about Missy not too long ago.
You see what she said, don't you? You see her comment.
I love the song.
It says laugh out loud. Dang, Nirma.
See, you love that song. Leave the door open. He got a lot of Missy, a lot of 2 or 3 of them. I like to
We're
hear.
talking about Al Jarreau.
Yeah, Al Jarreau. Yeah, Al Jarreau.
He's an icon, and we're gonna miss him.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're off the charts now. We're gonna go off the beaten path. We're just talking about good old stuff. And Pastor Norman, go ahead and have some fun.
Remember this. Remember this. Before you came here into this dream world, Jesus let you try on his shoes. But before you could put his shoes on, he imprinted your feet with the maps. You can go blind and still follow God.
Wow. Now we're going to end on that.
Okay.
You can go blind and still follow God.
I'm going to remember that one.
Love you guys. We'll see you on Sunday.
See y'all. Love y'all.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.